Hey guys, it's me, Jakey D. Welcome back to another Every Easter Egg video. I'm actually so excited to do a deep dive into GTA 5 like no one has ever done before. We're going to be going over every real Easter egg in the game. That means no fake Easter eggs like Michael's ghost or the sewer monster. You may have heard of those so-called Easter eggs before because they have gone viral on like TikTok and YouTube before, but unfortunately they are just mods and people are just calling them Easter eggs to get views. Now, I do have a mod installed and that is called Menu. This basically allows me to Easter egg hunt so much easier by flying around, being invincible, changing the weather, changing the time. Basically, I can do whatever I need to do to see whichever Easter egg I need to see. This is the 8th Every Easter Egg video that I've done, but we are doing it a little differently than I normally do it. Normally, I'll just do one entire video for that game that I definitely need to break this up into lots of parts. There is just so much to talk about. In part 1, we're going to be looking at the Muriel, of course, Mount Chiliad, you know, it's GTA's biggest mystery, and we're definitely going to be looking at details that no one has ever looked at before. And if you think that I missed a detail of some sort, please leave a comment and I will fix it up in the next video. I guess that's the perk of doing this in parts. You guys can actually help me Easter egg hunt if you want. And I'm so thankful for any support that you guys leave on this series, and apologies for the long intro. Let's begin. Now there's a lot to go through with this Easter egg, so I wasn't sure where I was going to start, but let's start at the Muriel, which you can find on the top of Mount Chiliad. So let's start off at the very top. You're going to see like an eye, circular looking symbol, and this actually represents the UFO that you can find at the top of Mount Chiliad, which we'll get to that soon. And then next to that you've got lightning symbols, and that represents stormy weather, which you need to be able to see the UFO. And then below that you've got 5 crosses, and these 5 crosses represent 5 markings that you can see around the mountain. So the first marking has the UFO symbol again, but this time it's above some sort of tower, and at first I thought this was referencing the little radio tower thing that's on top of Mount Chiliad. But if you come here on the map, you can find this concrete slab with some alien drawings on it, and if we take a look next to it, you'll once again see the same symbol, the UFO above some sort of tower. And here we can see a couple of things. On the right side you can see part of the WOW signal, and in case you don't know what the WOW signal is, it's a real radio signal that was detected in 1977. The signal appeared to come from the constellation Sagittarius and bore the expected hallmarks of extraterrestrial origin. The astronomer was so amazed at the signal that he circled it and wrote WOW next to it, and that is why it's called the WOW signal. So you can see here the 6 E, Q, U, and J, and then good luck finding the 5 because it's in a bush. Now something interesting to note here is that Sagittarius is represented by the archer, and as you may know, an archer shoots arrows. And next to this WOW signal, you're going to find a couple of arrows. The red arrow, which is on top of the concrete slab, takes you in the direction of the Beam Me Up site where there is another WOW signal, and the other arrow, which is in the sand next to the radio tower symbol, points directly in the direction of a radio tower. And on further inspection of the radio tower, there doesn't seem to be anything really special about it, but if you compare it to other radio towers in the vicinity, it's the only tower with white lights, a standing platform, and you can line it up perfectly with the mountain where the UFO does appear, which I guess explains the symbol. Now in my Easter egg hunting efforts, there will be times when I look way too much into something. Take this for example. I decided to look into 440 volts because it's the only thing on top of this radio tower, and I thought maybe it's a reference or something. And then the next thing I know, I'm looking at an article that says New Zealand UFO files describe alien with size 440 shoe size. Well, it turns out 440 volts is just a standard in America, but I think you'll find that I look into things way too often. Now I know I got a little bit sidetracked there, but let's get back to those symbols. The next symbol is a UFO and a rainy cloud, so also representing the stormy weather. The next symbol is a UFO with 3 lines under it and a moon symbol, and that represents the fact that you can only see the UFO at 3 a.m. or I guess it's actually between 3 and 4 a.m. So yeah, it's pretty dark. The next symbol is just the UFO symbol, so nothing very special happening there. And then the last one is a half UFO symbol, and I think this represents the fact that the UFO actually disappears the closer you get to it. So now that we've found the 5 markings, let's go to the top of Mount Chiliad, and you can see that it says come back when your story is complete, meaning that you have to 100% the game in order to see the UFO. And you can actually see the red marking there, which is the marking that was at the top of the Muriel. And now I think we're ready to see the UFO. So by making the time 3 a.m. and making it stormy weather, even though I realized I could also see it in rainy weather, and making sure that you have of course 100%ed the game as well, you'll want to stand pretty much in the little watchtower that's there, otherwise the UFO may be invisible. And if you take a closer look at the UFO, you can see that it says FIB, and that is basically GTA's FBI version. So that tells us that this UFO is government owned and not alien owned. It's also the only UFO that's not a physical object, meaning that you can shoot through it, you can fly through it because it turns invisible and kind of just disappears. And this pretty much sums up this first UFO. But if we go back to the Muriel, we still have the bottom section to talk about, that being the symbols of the UFO, the cracked egg, and the jetpack. And these symbols have really sparked a lot of controversy and theories over the years. But as for right now, I'm going to tell you what I think is the best explanation. So there are 3 other UFOs that you can find around the mountain, and these symbols represent those locations. So starting off with the UFO symbol, this represents the Beam Me Up site, which is basically a hippie camp for alien enthusiasts. And you can find a UFO on a car, which looks very similar to the symbol on the Muriel. And if we fly up directly above the Beam Me Up site, we will eventually see a UFO at the very tippity top. And as you can see, this is another FIB UFO, but with some differences. This UFO is an actual physical object, which I thoroughly tested. Also, something interesting happens if you fly near it. It will make that sound that you just heard, and it will cut the power to your flying vehicle. So apart from this UFO having some unique powers and sounds, it looks like it's the exact same model as the UFO that we saw before, including underneath the UFO where there is that little light that appears underneath it as well. The next UFO location is explained by the cracked egg symbol. So the UFO is found in the ocean just off the coast of Paleto Bay, and Paleto Bay is like the home of chicken and eggs basically. Above the Paleto Bay sign is literally an egg clock, and below the sign you will see a Cluckenbell sign, because this is the home of Cluckenbell Farms, where they prepare the meat and send it out to their restaurants. Also, the only bank in town has an egg symbol on it, and their motto is "Your Nest Egg." And during the mission, the Paleto Score, you do rob this bank as well. So I guess you could say you cracked the vault, which perhaps could be the reference to the cracked egg. There's also a nightclub called the Hen House, which does have egg symbols on it. And then perhaps one of my favorites is Wilson Hatchery's Poultry Supplies. This business seems to handle poultry supplies for chickens laying eggs, and on the side of the building you can clearly see a cracked egg. So I think you get the point that this is literally the town of eggs. So let's go check out the UFO now, which you'll find in the ocean. And this UFO looks like the same sort of model UFO as what we've seen with the FIB UFOs, except it doesn't look like this is an FIB version, and therefore this could actually be an original alien version that they then back engineered off of. And I think this also explains why it's a cracked egg symbol, because it's literally like a broken down UFO. And when you Google animated crashed UFOs, they're normally cracked in the dome shaped part of the UFO, which is like the egg shape. And that, my friends, was part 1. So I'm going to try and keep these parts pretty short, between 8 to 15 minutes. So then hopefully I can post some regular content. Even then, it's probably going to be every couple of weeks because these videos take a lot of effort. Hopefully someone out there enjoys this series, as it's very hard to stay persistent when you're getting 2 views and 1 dislike. In the next part, we're going to be exploring the jetpack symbol, of course. We'll also explore the connections between the Altruist camp and the UFOs, and we'll also talk about the satellites. There's still at least another couple parts here that we're going to be talking about the Muriel. There is just so much to talk about, so many other theories, so many game files and things that have been found over the years where Rockstar cancels all of the single player plans because they're making bank on GTA Online, and then they just add everything to online instead. As a single player gamer, that kind of annoys me. Just so much cool stuff to talk about, and I'm very excited to share my thoughts with you guys. So stick around and I'll see you guys in the next one.